We are recording this on Tuesday, just 48 hours basically before the trade deadline. Already fireworks over the weekend. We touched on the Kyrie Irving trade to the Dallas Mavericks on our weekly episode, The Old Man and the Three Things, which is available exclusively on Amazon Music. I don't want to go into that trade necessarily too much, but Tommy, it feels like a lot could happen over the next 48 hours.
When do you think it's going to get going?
I'm hearing there's a specific trade that's close, and it's been reported on Twitter, so I'm not breaking news here, but by the time we release this episode, it could be done, and that's the Russ to the Jazz for Conley. I've heard that is getting close to being done. The Lakers are interesting, and when you look at the Western Conference and all those teams bunched together, Dallas being one of them, making the big trade for Kyrie Irving, I look at Memphis potentially. They have done such a good job of drafting, and they have picks to get rid of. I think New Orleans could be active. They still have a bunch of assets.
So many assets. It's crazy.
Bunch of young players. I mean, basically a month ago, before Zion got hurt, they were 23-13 and in second or third place in the Western Conference. They're at 9th right now. The other teams, I mentioned this on the Old Man and the Three Things on Monday. I think Phoenix could be potentially very active. I know they were linked to Kyrie Irving. I think the Clippers are desperately looking for a point guard.
Yeah,
exactly. Of course, the Lakers. Another interesting team in the Western Conference, Tommy, is the Portland Trailblazers, who traded for Jeremy Grant in the summer. They got off to a great start. They've been hovering around the 10 spot for the last 4 to 5 weeks. Well, Dame is playing at an all-time level. He's shown that he is being loyal to that franchise. Do they swing something? Do they go big?
Well, in Sharp, they have an asset that they can go big game hunting and finally get sort of, I think it was a great pickup for them, but if they can get another big piece like that, that's a team that could rocket up the West quickly. The other one we talked about Monday on sort of the flip side of things is Toronto.
Yes. Well, this is what I was going to say. If in terms of buyers and sellers, I just, down at the bottom of the Western Conference, you've got the Spurs and the Rockets. The Spurs with Josh Richardson, Jakob Poeltl, and Doug McDermott. Those guys, vets, could help a playoff team. Those guys could potentially be on the move. Houston Rockets, seems like for the last 2 years, we've talked about Eric Gordon a ton.
Just get him out of there,
He could be on the move. So those are potential sellers in the West, in my opinion. And then we go to the East, and there's a bunch of teams, again, in that sort of no man's land. The Atlanta Hawks, the Chicago Bulls, the Raptors, the Wizards, those teams, they're basically fighting for play-in spots. Do they make a move? The Hawks, to me, given what we know about their ownership situation and who's running that front office now, they're probably looking to be a buyer. John Collins, his name has been mentioned a ton of times for the last 2 years in trade rumors. So that's a team that could potentially move. But the Raptors, that team is, to me, the team to watch because they have 3 players that potentially could be on the move that would definitely swing a playoff series, potentially title odds. That's the team to watch.
All NBA guys don't get moved that often.
Exactly.
Can I throw one more Eastern Conference team we've talked about offline that I feel like is really interesting to watch, which is...
Can I guess?
Yes.
The Miami Heat.
That is correct. That is correct. Because I think, I know, with Jimmy and Bam, they are another team that could go big game hunting. They have the assets to do it, especially if they decide to trade somebody like Tyler. And I think that is, I think anytime you have Jimmy and Bam, you are going to be competitive in a playoff series. And if there's a scoring guard that's out there that they can go get, that's a team that I think they've been shaky sort of all year, and they've been injured, and there's been a lot of issues for it. But we talked about it last week. They've started to play well. They're up to, are they 6th now in the East, 5th or 6th in the East?
6th, yeah, but firmly 6th, it looks like.
Yeah, and you could see them getting back to, a real sort of like Eastern Conference threat with the right move.
Right, they're a one possession away from making the NBA Finals for the second time in 3 years. Pat Riley is a winner, and he's shown that he's willing to take risks and make big swings. So I agree with you. That's definitely a team in the East. I should mention, it keeps coming up. Jay Crowder has been linked to the Bucks. They probably will be looking for more wing depth, especially defensively. Cavs are a team that we've mentioned a bunch. There's players on the Hornets and Pistons, those teams aren't going anywhere this year. Do they fully, just Pistons basically already are, but they fully just tank and go for Wembanyama, and they have players that are absolutely playoff rotation caliber players. I want to bring up on DraftKings Sportsbook the odds and the shifting odds after this Kyrie Irving to Dallas trade. It's interesting with Dallas specifically because when the odds opened for NBA championship last spring, I think it was in May or early June, they opened at plus 1,400. They've shifted around right before the trade on February 4th. They were at plus 3,000. They moved as low as plus 1,200. They're now at plus 1,400. So their odds essentially have not shifted since they were in the conference finals last year, which is hilarious.
It's crazy.
The Nets seem like they're potentially not done. It's been reported that they're not done. They still have not done the trade call as of this recording. Their odds open at plus 450. There was a bunch of noise all summer because of the Kevin Durant's trade request. They went as high as plus 3,000 to be NBA champions in July. On the ultimatum day, they were down all the way to plus 700. Right now, they're at plus 2,000. Feels like good odds. Kevin Durant, they have a team that's built around him, and your boy is on fire.
Cam, he is beyond on fire. I will say this sort of goes without saying, but both these teams is like if you have Kevin Durant or Luka on your team, you're always going to be in the conversation. Yeah, you know what you're going to get with those two, and so even with the Mavs and everything, we don't know what we're going to get with Kyrie or anything like that. But it's Luka. Look who Luka got to the Western Conference Finals last year. You know what I mean?
There's a point of discussion in our conversation upcoming with Mike Breen, where we talk about the outsized input that star players have in the NBA. There's a Daryl Morey anecdote from an appearance that he had on a podcast recently that we talk about, and you're absolutely right. Kevin Durant, Luka, Tatum, Jokic, Embiid, LeBron, Steph, I'm Giannis, of course. Like the input is so much greater when it's a top 5 caliber player that you always have a chance in a playoff series. Going to a playoff series, right? Dallas Mavericks. They're likely going to have the best or one of the 2 best players every single time on the court in a playoff series. When I throw down on the NBA action, it's got to be with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. For a limited time, all new and existing customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. New customers can download the app using code JJ, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back. I'm going to repeat that. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. We hope you had fun with us today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button.